Hey guys, Teisha here, host of the upcoming podcast, Not Your Average Goat. I just wanted to take a few minutes just to share why I'm even starting a podcast. It might be surprising to some people, but I've always been a storyteller. Even since I was a child, I used to write poems and short stories, and one of my first jobs was actually working for a publishing agency where I was writing magazine editorials. I've also always just been super fascinated with people's stories, and I love to get to know people's backgrounds, their cultures. I think that's probably also why I love traveling and really going deep into cities and towns to really understand the people and the food and just everything. And so I thought that when I was working at the publishing agency that I would probably stay in that journalistic type of role, but my career ended up morphing and going into marketing and then getting into the digital space where I've been now for 11 years. And I thought one day I'd go back there, but I just never did. And I talked about maybe starting a blog sometimes. Didn't happen. Just felt like too much work. But then podcasts came out, and I was definitely very late to the game when it came to podcast. I did not start listening to podcasts until 2019, July 8th, 2019 to be exact, because I started a new job where I was commuting 3 hours round trip. Before I had been commuting only about 20 minutes, and so all of a sudden I had to find something to do with my time. So I was like, hey, let's see what this whole podcast thing is about. So I found a few, but one that really stuck out to me is a podcast called Work in Progress, hosted by Sophia Bush. She is an actress. If you don't know who she is, she's been on shows like One Tree Hill and Chicago PD, and also Dr. Sam, as well as a handful of different movies too. And her podcast is essentially her interviewing people that have influenced her and inspired her throughout her life and telling their stories of how they got to where they are and where they think they're still going, including what they think is still a work in progress for them. And the people she talks to are just so incredible. Think Jon Favreau, Gloria Steinem, Katie Couric, Karama from Queer Eye. Just these amazing actors, activists, chefs, comedians, Taylor Tomlinson, Tig, and it's just so great because you think of these people as people who you've seen on stage, giving a speech, doing stand-up, on TV, but you really don't ever think of them as people. And what I really loved about her show is that she really helps humanize some of these people who we admire, and you really get to deep dive into their journeys, going all the way back to their childhood and learning about some of the struggles that they've had, and also just talking about their professional career. And even though these people are very well known, Sophia's an actor, so of course she's going to have a lot of connections with celebrities. Their stories are still nonetheless just as impactful. And when I was listening to that, it kind of did two things for me. It first made me realize that I really love journalism. I really love storytelling, and I really, really wanted to get back into that space. The second thing is that it made me realize that even though I'm not in that celebrity world and don't have connections with famous people, I've still been so lucky over the years to come across and befriend so many incredible people with extraordinary journeys. And I decided that, hey, I'm going to marry my passion for storytelling and hearing people's journeys with interviewing people in my life who have been inspiring to me. And so what I'm trying to do with my show is really put a lot of emphasis on diversity. And for me, for my husband, we have been very lucky in that the people we've befriended, acquainted, who have entered our lives over the last 10, 15 years have been so diverse. And I'm still not entirely sure if it's because we attract diverse people or if we just naturally gravitate toward diverse people, maybe a little bit of both. But nonetheless, I'm so grateful for the connections that we've made over the years. And those people are going to be the basis for my podcast. And my mission is really all about inspiring the world through authentic conversations that are both meaningful and relatable. And I really want to put a lot of emphasis on the relatability part, because in these conversations, we deep dive not into just the accomplishments that these people have had, whether personal accomplishments, contributions to social impact, but we talk a lot about the adversities that they've had to overcome over the years. And something that I really want to drill home is that diversity as well as adversity comes in so many shapes, sizes, and colors. And I really mean that. And from these conversations, you will believe that too. And so I don't just talk to people with ethnic, cultural, religious diversity. I talk to incredible women. I talk to people in the LGBTQ plus space. I talk to people with disabilities. I talk to people who are managing a mental health or chronic condition, and much, much more. And the adversities are just as far-reaching. Some of these people have had childhood trauma. Some of them have had struggles trying to find their personal and or sexual identity. Some of them have had inequity, whether from a race perspective, a gender perspective. Some of them have had bad relationships. Some of them have had to go through losing people, tragedy, and so much more when it comes to adversity. And so having these conversations and leaning into vulnerability and being comfortable with being uncomfortable is all what my show is about. And with all of that, hoping to inspire people through authentic conversations. And so that's where I get to my name, Not Your Average Goat. And what that means to me is I have the opportunity to share with you people who are quote unquote average, but who are so incredible. And so playing off the word GOAT, or greatest of all time, which is a football term used to really describe NFL legends, that's really where I'm going with my show. And that's really where my name comes from and my mission and vision for Not Your Average Goat and for my podcast. And so for me, this is a passion project. It's a hobby. And of course, I hope people listen and people are inspired. But at the end of the day, I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my guest, the people who I interview on the show. And hopefully I'm doing it also for people who will listen and hopefully take something out of the show. So that's it. I can't wait to launch in June, and I hope you tune in. If you haven't already, please follow us on social. We can be found at Not Average Goat on Instagram and Twitter, and you can also find us on Facebook. Thank you so much.